Hello, my name is Dr. Linda Veltri. I'm Associate Professor and Director of the RN to BSN program here at Northwest Christian University. I'd like to welcome you to our nursing program and to congratulate you on your decision to pursue your baccalaureate degree in nursing. As you progress through our nursing program, one thing you're going to note is that faculty are going to be asking you to use the principles of APA in your writing and to guide formatting of your papers and other assignments. Some of you may be very familiar with APA and know how to apply that very well. Others of you may think to yourself, well, I've heard about APA and I think I may have used it somewhere in my education. And others of you may be like me when I went to nursing school and I said, what is APA? Because I truly had no idea what APA was, let alone how to use it in my writing when I entered nursing school 20 years ago. And as a result, I lost a good many points on my assignments, which was very, very frustrating, simply because I did not understand or apply APA to my writing or my formatting. So I decided that I was going to master APA, and there are some strategies that I use to do that I want to share with you. My first strategy was simply to make friends with APA. I decided that APA was not my enemy, that in fact it was going to be my friend, and I was going to learn how to use it, and I was going to try to understand it, and I was going to stop whining and complaining about the fact that I had to use it in my assignments. And actually, what I learned from that was that indeed, in embracing APA in terms of my writing and my formatting, actually made me a better writer. It helped me avoid plagiarism in my papers, and it helped me to communicate more effectively. My second strategy that I used to master APA was an understanding that APA is like math. Math has all kinds of rules, and before you can do an operation, you need to understand the rules and the theorems that guide how we do our operations. And APA is very similar. APA has lots of rules about use of commas and quotation marks and how to format tables and how to cite direct quotes versus page paraphrases, when to use a page number, when not to use a page number. So your success with APA is going to be directly correlated to the rules that you understand and the ability to apply those to your writing. The third thing that I discovered is that I simply had to buy and use the APA manual. At first, I found the manual very, very, very confusing. I could not figure out how to look things up. But I made myself look things up anyway, and eventually I began to figure out how the index was laid out and what terms to use to look things up. But I had to dig in, I had to pull the manual out, and I had to begin digging into it and looking things up and understanding the language and the terms. This, by the way, is the APA manual. The 6th edition is what we're using these days. So I know that it's confusing. I know that it's hard to understand, but really you need to be a sleuth and you need to be a little bit of a detective to try to understand the language and the terminology. And if you make yourself do it, you'll develop a repertoire of terms, and eventually you'll be able to look things up fairly easily. The other thing I did in my APA manual is I started marking common things that I always look up. I have a yellow sticky note there so that I can turn to it quickly in case I can't remember what term I used to look it up. So use the APA manual. I know there are lots of things that you can Google. There's lots of references. Some are better than others. But at the end of the day, the APA manual is your Bible. It's the authority. And make it your friend and learn how to use it. Have it at your desk by your side. If you don't understand how to do something or you have a question about how to format something, look it up because the manual will tell you. The fourth thing that I did, the fourth strategy that I used, was that I found myself a mentor, someone who knew APA really, really well. And I actually asked that person to begin reading my papers and correcting my format before I turned them in. And it was somewhat distressing because in the beginning, my papers came back with red ink all over them because I made multiple APA errors. But that was okay. I learned from them. I reviewed the comments. I made the changes. And I did everything that I could to try to fix those errors before I turned my papers in and lost points. And I would encourage you to do that too. Find someone, one of your friends or colleagues who knows APA. Don't hesitate to email your instructor and say, hey, I want to format something. I want to cite this and that, but I'm not really sure. Could you take a look at what I've done? And we will all be happy to help you. And the result of having a mentor and having someone correct my APA led to me eventually figuring out some basic things, to really developing the knowledge about how to do that. And eventually I got so that I could do a few things without looking them up, and I knew that they were correct, and I didn't have to have my mentor look at them and correct my errors. So some basic things like formatting a title page, how to cite a direct quote versus a paraphrase, how to cite a journal article versus a book, those kinds of basic things. Eventually I learned with some correction and some feedback. And finally, my last strategy is I'm a really visual learner. And if I can't make a picture of it in my head, it's very difficult for me to learn. And I suspect many of you are like that. And in fact, the research would support that supposition in that a good majority of learners are visual. So a picture is worth 1,000 words. So what that meant for me in terms of APA is I needed some kind of a cheat sheet. I needed examples, either in the APA manual or some kind of a sheet I made for myself, or the library made, or something that I looked up, like in Purdue OWL, where I would Google how to cite a direct quote, and there would be an example there that I could follow. So what I would encourage you to do is find yourself some good examples of properly formatted APA items and keep that cheat sheet handy so that you can look it up. So when you can't remember where the period or the comma goes, you have a correctly formatted example that you can pull up quickly and refer to as you're doing your own formatting. Let's see. Keeping with the same theme of visual examples, several years ago I worked with some colleagues at another university where I was employed and teaching nursing, and we developed an APA PowerPoint, and we went through the APA manual and we said to ourselves, what do nursing students struggle with? What do we think that they need to know how to do? What kinds of APA formatting, etc., are we asking them to do in their assignments? And let's put together a PowerPoint that walks students through those items and those things and gives them examples of what to do. So I have carried that PowerPoint with me in every place that I've been employed as a nursing faculty, and I offer that to you. Your faculty for Nurse 310 have posted that PowerPoint, and that's available to you. And I encourage you to take a look at that. It's really the nuts and bolts, down and dirty, basic APA, things that every graduate from a baccalaureate program of nursing and or student pursuing graduate studies really should be able to know and understand and apply related to APA. So don't hesitate to pull that PowerPoint out and look up some of those examples as you're writing your papers and those sorts of things. I'm turning a page here. So the other thing you're going to find in that PowerPoint is here at this NCU in our RN to BSN program, faculty have gotten together and decided there are some basic things that we want students to be able to do related to APA in our program, and things that we really want them to master and be comfortable with. So we've created what we're calling APA ground rules, and you're going to find these ground rules followed in all of your RN to BSN courses here at NCU. You're going to find these ground rules in your syllabi. They're going to guide your assignments. Faculty are aware of them, and it's going to be their expectation that you are going to be able to do these few things. Those ground rules are posted in that APA PowerPoint that I talked about, and they're posted in your syllabi. And they're real simple. Things like you should be able to format a title page correctly. You should be able to know how to cite a direct quote versus a paraphrase. You should use Times New Roman 12-point font. Your papers should be double-spaced. So take a look at that and be aware of that, and know that we're working really hard to have some consistency among faculty in terms of our expectations, which will be very useful in guiding students as they learn and apply APA. Finally, at the end of this APA PowerPoint that I've been talking about, it was suggested that we add a couple of slides that talk about common APA errors that students make. And I have listed those. It's taken a couple of slides because there are some things that I see over and over and over in students' papers. And I have listed those towards the end of that PowerPoint. So take a look at that and see if you're making those errors. And now that you know about it, maybe you can stop doing that and learn how to do it correctly. I thought that was a very helpful suggestion, and I hope you'll find that very helpful to your learning. So once again, I welcome you to NCU. In the weeks ahead, I really, really encourage you to befriend APA, to find yourself a mentor, to use the visual aids that we have available in your courses. And in addition, I would encourage you to use Purdue OWL. I use that myself because it's online. I can Google how to cite a direct quote in Purdue OWL, and it comes right up. And I'll tell you a little secret about Purdue OWL is that it's darn near cut and paste from the APA manual, which is why I use it, because I find the same words and the same language and the same examples that I find in my hard copy of my APA manual. So it's a very reliable APA resource that I often use, just simply because it's easier to find it in Purdue OWL by Googling than it is to try to wade my way through the index of the APA manual. And then I would also highly encourage you to review your papers after they've been graded by your faculty. Take a look at their comments and what corrections they're making to your writing and to your APA. And really work to incorporate those comments so that you don't continue to make those same errors over and over and over and lose points. Faculty are providing comments and examples. They're telling you specifically what you did that wasn't quite correct. So go back, look at those papers, look at those comments, and incorporate their feedback into your next assignments. And eventually you'll get so that you're able to do it very well. You're able to format very well. You're going to be able to do it off the top of your head without having to look everything up. And you're going to stop losing points for making the same errors over and over. So take some time to review the APA resources we have posted in this course and in the days ahead. And I wish you much success in your writing, in your use of APA, and in your BSN studies here at NCU. Thank you.